Preparing, and we are live now on our side-by-side channel. Welcome everybody joining us from all over the world. Today's mental session with Kamal Amir. We're talking about removing the self-limiting beliefs. Hello, Kamal. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Alia. Hi, Adil. Well, yeah, let me just say, I mean, you said mental. It did sound mental, kind of how you said it. It's not mental, guys. It's just a mental coaching. It's
Mental coaching. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Mental training, mental coaching, mental adapting could be a good word as well. I've been doing my
right.
research, by the way.
All
Uh,
right. Thanks everyone for joining. For those that have joined, for those that are still joining, we'll give it a few more minutes while we also share on different pages and on different sites. And hi, Adil. Hi, Halia again.
mhm.
And today we're talking about self-limiting beliefs and how, and one of the ways we can remove it. There are, or remove them. There are several ways to remove the self-limiting beliefs. Today I chose one way so that we have something to play with, something to test. And so, yeah, the idea behind why I chose today self-limiting beliefs was because last session I mentioned self-limiting beliefs, and so I thought it was a little bit logical to bring it up today.
And also its relationship to the sports industry and the athletes, coaches, and even parents, because I think we can highlight that self-limiting beliefs in an individual can be reflected and shared to the surroundings. So if I belong to a community and one have a specific energy or a certain habit that he endures himself, it can be reflecting to the others. Walay, what do you think?
Absolutely, you're quite right on your opinion, and so yeah. So I'm hoping everybody is settled in and ready to jump into this. The other thing I'm wondering, actually, I'm curious if any of you have added to your database of mental strengths everything that we've learned so far in the past 3 sessions, and if you have any stories to share.
That would be an open discussion, you guys. If you have any experience that you want to share with us, or if you watched us the last few sessions and you want to share your experience or you have any questions, please do so. Reach out to us on Facebook or on Zoom. Please go ahead and share your experience and your questions with Kamal Amr.
Thank you, Alia. All right, so let's just jump in, right?
Mhm.
Let's explore what a belief is. We need to understand together or define a belief before we go any further. A lot of people will define a belief very differently, so let's create something called a consensus reality. I'm not talking about religious or spiritual beliefs. I'm talking about mental beliefs. These are thoughts that one has thought over and over again in their mind, so much that they have been ingrained in a way that we see ourselves that way and we believe people see us in that way. The interesting thing is that these beliefs, or that original thought, as a matter of fact, doesn't even have to be true. And because our subconscious mind just loves to be right, almost like women, no offense.
Yep.
once it has an idea in, like, once it has an idea in its head, so to speak, It will distort, generalize, and delete all coming information or data to reinforce that thought that it has already decided. To put it more into perspective, we are bombarded with much sensory input and information on a daily basis that our brain has to filter that information in order to function, or else we would explode with data. So that information that we gather up during our life, it stays in the back of our minds. And to give you an understanding of how much data we intake, it's about 2 million bits of information per second. That means 2 million, 2 million, 2 million, 2 million. That will be excessively a lot of information of intake. Our maximum conscious capacity of intake is around 130,000 bits. One conversation, so a one-to-one, would take up to 60,000 bits. So if you add up to that mix another second person, that will almost max out your intake of information. And the rest of the information, it's just saved in your subconscious mind. So by doing so, we've already filtered information based on the pre-existing views of the world that we have, and we start to ignore everything else. Does that make sense so far?
Absolutely, yes.
Are there any questions so far from you guys? No?
Yep, we're good, very good.
All right. So now imagine what happens when you choose to believe, or what you choose to believe about yourself or not. These beliefs, they come from our parents, from our peers, our family members, even teachers throughout our growing up stages. And since most of the time we consider them people of importance or of authority, their words strike us hard, and we start believing things we don't necessarily know if they are true or not. And let me quote somebody, Henry Ford, actually. He said, "Whether you believe you can or cannot, you are absolutely right." Keep that in mind when you believe something about yourself. But this is just talk. So I want you guys to play along with me, and I want to prove this to you. Does that sound like something doable?
Yep.
All right. So in a moment, I'll give you an exercise, and you've got 2 minutes to complete that exercise. However, it is an extremely difficult exercise, and you might not be able to complete it alone. But don't worry, I'm right here, and if you need my help, I will help you out. Okay?
That's a challenge for all the viewers and listeners here on Facebook and everywhere. So focus, and we are ready.
So before we go there, let me ask you a few questions. Who of you already feels they won't be able to do the exercise?
Yep.
All right.
Okay, I have to admit, I was ashamed to say me too.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for being honest. Now, who of you thinks or believes they will need my help?
Depends.
What a word. I mean, it's very difficult to ask for help, Kamel, if you know what I mean.
Put that aside. I mentioned that you will probably need my help. Do you think you will need my help if you can't achieve it?
Yeah, I will consider myself a newbie, and I definitely need help.
All right.
Already.
Now I'm going to ask you a question again that you already answered. Who of you believes you will embarrass yourself? I'll take that as a yes.
Yay.
Now, who of you doesn't want to continue the exercise?
Let's take the risk. It's fun to join. Come on. Come on, come on, come on.
All right. It would be absolutely cruel of me to put you on the spot and do an exercise. There is no exercise. But you see what I've done here? Do you understand what I've done?
Yeah, you put a pressure by mentioning it's a difficult task and you will not be able to do it alone. So
Exactly. I already framed your mind that it's a difficult exercise, that you won't be able to do it alone, that you will need my help on top of that, which enforced the idea that it's definitely something that will be difficult.
And that is something that the community and the society and the family, like you said, can have or can have power upon the individual.
Absolutely.
From their ideas or from their thoughts. Wow, just
Yeah.
thoughts.
This was just a thought. I mean, this was just a thought, right? And so what happens is that I have actually limited your belief, and you have accepted this belief for one reason only. Even though there are no facts that prove that or that support the idea that you won't be able to do it. It's because you consider me a person of authority.
And it's not
just
even
as
an
simple.
identified task. We were just highlighting nothing.
Nothing at all, right? So imagine when it's a teacher, a professor, or a parent that tells you you can't do that.
Yep.
yeah, and controversy. If he told you you can do it,
You can do
what
it.
could be the positive impact?
Exactly, right? So these thoughts and beliefs, they're extremely powerful. And like I said, most of the time, these beliefs, they limit us to move forward. And they're our own creation at times, and we just accept them. And when you accept them, by filtering your data that is coming into you, you enforce these ideas by doing some of the following steps. One, you start labeling yourself. I'm fat, I'm skinny, I'm lazy, I'm undisciplined, I'm stupid. The more you start labeling yourself, the more you identify with that label, and it becomes much more difficult to change it because it becomes part of you. It's no longer a thought or a belief. It's who you are. You start taking things, or you start taking personal responsibility for things you have no control over. Like, for example, let's say you read a review about a restaurant and it was an excellent review. And then you meet up with your friends and then you say, okay, guys, I have an excellent restaurant. Let's go there. And you go to the restaurant and the restaurant turns out to be rubbish. What do? Oh, it's my fault. I didn't know it was that rubbish. It was told that it was good and I believed it. And so you're taking responsibility of something. I mean, it's not your fault that this person liked this restaurant, or even that the restaurant wasn't up to standards. Did you want to say something?
Yes, we
Go
have
ahead.
actually a question on Facebook from Sarah. How can we change our beliefs, and how do we know if our beliefs are right or wrong?
Interesting question. The first question is yes, we can change our beliefs. I am going to give you a small exercise at the end of the session on how to change the beliefs. There are plenty of different ways to do it. And the second question, if a belief stops you from reaching your goals, then perhaps you should think about changing it. If it serves you right, if it serves you well, then it serves you. It's not something that is bothersome. Hopefully that answers the question properly.
It definitely answers Sarah's question. Let me add to that. How, for example, if I'm a parent and I believe my child can or cannot do something, how do I know I'm wrong? For example, let me give you a live example. I had a parent once come to me and she says, this is my non-athletic fencer, my non-athletic child. Can he be a fencer? So she defined him to be a non-athletic. I was like, you just told me that he's not capable of becoming a sportsman, although he did take few regional medals later on. that's an example I used to give a lot, that anyone can join fencing because I believe he can be a good fencer. But his mother at that time thought he's a non-athletic. So how do we know if it's right or not? Identifying or highlighting their capabilities.
Well, that's I don't want to pinpoint at parents anything right or wrong that they're doing. We each have our own way of teaching our children. But but again, I consider it a an impediment for the children to actually tell them what they can do or cannot do, to judge them based on what we might believe, because then we're kind of mind reading what's happening in their mind, and we don't know that. As a parent, I refuse to tell my son, you can't do this. I tell him you can do it. Just think of it. Test it. Because we, as parents, we are kind of responsible for the words that we say. And we are brought up in such a way that we don't pay attention to what we say. And these words are very impactful. I mean, you've just tested it now with that exercise that I pretended to have with you. Now imagine I'm a parent and I'm telling you, you won't be able to do that. Teachers actually do that in school. I don't know if you remember the teachers, they say like, I've got an exercise for you guys. It's a little bit difficult, but I'm right here. You just need to raise your hand if you want my help. It sounds very genuine and very helpful, but in fact it isn't, because you framed the idea of it being difficult. Does that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Good.
Absolutely.
And as a side note, please let your children be who they are. Don't tell them you have to be a fencer, you have to be a basketball player, you have to be a doctor, you have to be an engineer. Let them be. Let them choose for themselves. Don't push them anywhere. That's my advice. I don't usually give advice, but when people live themselves, they actually live a much better and healthier life.
Is it a form of trial and error or experience that you gain, or how do you advise a parent? Because I know, well, you just said you don't like to advise, but how do you guide a parent to give opportunities to the children if their mind is telling them, let them be a doctor? Like how do you change the mindset of a parent? Let them be an artist, or let them try being an artist, let them try being a musician, let them try being an engineer, let them try being whatever they want to be.
The idea is to let them try and whatever they want to try and whatever they want to be. And without actually say, it might sound controversial, and I don't want to get into that, but children, they don't belong to parents. Parents usually think of children as their possession. They're not yours. They're not ours. They're another human being. They are their own human beings.
Wow.
And they are allowed to grow and learn the way that they want to do it, not the way that we want them to do. What we can provide as parents is information, is knowledge, is teachings, morals, ethics, principles, and they get to choose.
This is not as easy said as done, Kamel.
I know it's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult.
Something that needs to be trained to do, right?
Yes, I do believe so. I fall into that mistake as well, me personally. But every time I fall in, I push myself back and I say, no, you choose what you want. It's your choice. There are some things that are no choice about. There's homework, you have to do the bloody homework. There's no running away from it. And I try to implement knowledge as much as I can. I mean, my son and my daughter, they're like 6 and 4. So I inform them with knowledge. I bring up as much as I can. But if they want to play outside in the garden, they play outside. If they want to sit and read, they read. If they want to go and play in their room, they play in their room. I don't tell them what to do when it comes to these things. It's their choice. So yes, it's difficult, but it's doable. Anyway, that can be a completely different session for the parents if they want it.
Which we can put together for them, because they are a very important part of the community, whether it's just sports community or the global community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so let's jump back. Another thing that we tend to do when you have limiting beliefs to enforce them is you think about the worst possible outcome. And I have a colleague of mine, he called it, you start graduating with a PhD in catastrophic thinking. You catastrophize everything possible. You go from, why is this happening to me? It's, oh, this is always how it happens. Why can't it be better than that? You see, it's that negativity and catastrophizing. This is going to happen and this is going to happen. Now I'm going to lose my job and now I'm going to do this. And it's a like roller coaster of just catastrophic thinking. Adding to that, you filter your mind with negative thoughts. Like I said, why is this happening to me? Rather than thinking, what can I learn from this situation? What message is there for me here to learn or to understand, right? So you start thinking negatively instead of positively, even though I don't like using those two terms. You start mind reading people. Many of us fall into that trap when you, for instance, send a message to somebody you care about and they don't answer you straight away. You're like, why didn't she answer? Why didn't he answer? Are they cheating on me? Did I say something wrong? What happened? And you go into that trying to think what they are thinking. It's none of your business. Just let them be. Again, after that, you start talking to yourself in a dictator way, with a dictator voice. You have to do this. You need to finish this exercise. You should do this instead of that. And by doing so, you are only setting yourself up for failure, because you're actually dictating the whys. Who says this needs to be done right now? Who says you actually have to do it? And when you do that, you prevent the possibilities of choices in your life. You only have one choice when you have to do something or you need to do this. Another thing that we do to enforce is we tend to not have any gray areas. Yes, there are things that are black and white, but there is a possibility of gray areas. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have a task to complete at work and you complete it, but in your opinion, it's not perfect. But you hand it over and the people are happy, the team and the boss is happy and everything is okay. And you start to think, oh, that's rubbish. Oh, it's bad. I shouldn't have done it like that. I should have done something better. And you forget that you actually achieved the goal. You finished the task that you had to do. So you need to cut yourself some slack sometimes.
And that brings us to the question that was asked in the chat of Side by Side channel. How can we be certain that a specific belief is stopping us from achieving the goal?
Exactly, that's it. So if it's stopping, you will automatically know that it's stopping you, because you will feel something inside of you that tells you, oh, you know, I can't do this. Why can't you do that? Is there any proof about it? That belief that you hold so dear, do you have any tangible proof that it is correct? I will do an exercise with you in a bit and we'll go through that. But I'll answer that question in a little bit. Has any one of you experienced any of those points that I mentioned?
I think with the kind of world that we're in right now, I think everybody, every single person, and I would take that on my words, every single person would say, oh, why didn't he respond to that message right now? Did I say the right thing? So people question themselves. I question myself. I would speak about myself. So was it the right words? Was it the right phrasing? Should I have done this? Should I have done that? I would say 100% of people would experience that one
Yeah.
specifically.
Adil, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I will echo Alia. So definitely everybody faced the same situation in a way or another. The main part is he conscious enough to focus on and recognize that he faced this situation and it start to change it or not. But definitely yes, during our lifetime, for sure, we passed with some situations that we started to blame ourselves to things or judge others somehow. So are we cautious that we did it, and are we keen to make it improved? So stopping do it or watching ourselves when we do it to stop at the moment and start to change the way we are doing this to ourselves or not?
That's very good. I like that part where you said, are we conscious enough to stop what we're doing right there? And that brings me to a small story, if you don't mind me sharing with you. And it's
Please.
for you to participate as well, actually. I want you to imagine yourself on a yacht, a beautiful, fantastic yacht made out of wood. And that wood is built out of, like I said, wooden planks. And you need a sturdy boat, a very sturdy boat to take you on this journey. So these planks have to be free of holes and free of rotten parts, right? And now imagine yourself at sea on a journey to your destination. And all those thoughts and beliefs that you have about yourself, they start creating small holes in the planks, slowly, slowly leaking in water and rotting your boat. What do you think will happen? You'll sink. All of that because you decided to use cheap material. Now imagine that the yacht is you and these planks are your thoughts. How do you want to build your yacht? So that story and that question is for you to ponder on, for you to think about, because it's your yacht, your choice. Do you have sometimes a voice in your head that tells you, I'm not smart enough to do this? People don't like me. I'm not good at sports. I really don't deserve this. I'm unlucky. I'm too young. I'm too old. I'm weird. I've got a big nose. Well, if you have these thoughts, I want you to remember the past 2 sessions when we spoke about how you talk to yourself. That's exactly what I was talking about. How you talk to yourself equals the thoughts that you create in your mind. So let's get rid of those thoughts by doing a few steps. And here is an exercise that we're going to do together. Hopefully either you, Alia, or Adil can participate, or anybody that's online, they can participate as well. If you have a pen and a paper ready, when you're home alone, when you have time, I'd like you to write down 3 or all of the beliefs that you think have held you back in your life. But for now, I just want you to write 1 or 2. If you don't have a pen and paper, just think of 1 or 2 beliefs that have held you back. And after you've done that, I want you to choose that first of those unresourceful beliefs or that limiting belief and find a time or an example of when that belief may not have been true. But just think about it for a moment. And think about how this belief has held you back. What you could have done if you didn't believe that. And hopefully you're there now. We're going to go on a time travel together. So where you're sitting there, imagine there's a bubble closing around you. And we're going to travel back in time in the past and try and recall or remember that very first time you started believing this thought about yourself. So going back in time, maybe it's when you're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I don't know. But go back in time and figure out, when was the first time you thought of it? Sometimes it's easy to remember, sometimes it takes time. Once you've done that, as you are there in the past, I want you to write down a list of benefits that you have gained from that self-limiting belief, if there are any. So you're going to think or write down the list of benefits that you've gained from these or that self-limiting belief. Now that you have that, we're going to travel back to the future, or back to the future. Up until the very first session that we had about visualizing your success. We'll go travel back in time to that very first session 3 or 4 sessions ago. Sitting in that theater booth on the chair, visualizing yourself removing that self-limiting belief from that screen. You're going to imagine yourself removing that self-limiting belief by doing the visualization. And once you've done that, you take a deep breath in and you exhale and you write down a statement that is the opposite of that self-limiting belief. And you say it out loud. And you repeat it if need be. Now that you've done this with one belief, you can do it with all your self-limiting beliefs. You do the same journey back and again. Because it's important for you to realize and remember, as I always say, you are the author of your own story. Do not allow or let circumstances or people to write your story. You need to find that place of harmony and balance, and you will achieve the I'm possible. I promise you. So, to answer that question that was on side by side, when do we know if a belief is right or wrong? Well, if it limits you, if it doesn't allow you to succeed, if it doesn't help you in your future, it's not working for you. It doesn't serve you. If it has benefits, if it's serving you for the future, then it's a good one to have. So that's it from my side. If you have any questions, I'm open.
Very good. It was very, very interesting today, because I think you've asked us to go back and check our memories with the negative thoughts. And like you mentioned in the beginning, so I'm just connecting points here, that probably the negative thought was an impression taken from someone else. Because simply I don't think someone looks at the mirror and says, oh, I have this or I have that. It's someone else looked at you and said, oh, your nose is not the correct shape, or your figure is not correct shape. You're not tall enough, you're not short enough, you're not big enough, you're not small enough. So it was definitely a reflection from someone else. So I just loved today. Thank you.
You're absolutely right, Alia. Like I said in the beginning, these beliefs, they don't really necessarily stem from us. They're just a thought that come based on people around us. So that's why I mentioned you need to go back in the past and think about that very first moment that you thought of it. Sometimes it's difficult. sometimes you get the wrong timing. But if you get that timing and you figure out why it has served you or what the benefits are at that time, then you can possibly remove it later on.
Also, I think, Kamal, the message to the parents, so they start to believe in your kids and give them the chance to live their life, and watch your words or your way you are talking to them, because you might impact his whole life by just one word you didn't care about it. So please pay attention. You are dealing with a human being. You can change his life forever. And I really thank you for the topic today, because I always believe in that our thoughts shape our beliefs. Our beliefs affect our behaviors and actions, which will again re-feedback in our thinking and beliefs. So it starts from mind, from here, what our thoughts and how we can, in this case, respond to things that maybe others, parents or others, telling us about ourselves. So believe in yourself and don't take it for granted from anybody. You are a human being. You have a lot of capabilities for sure. So try to figure it out and utilize it. Don't listen to the negative thoughts.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, Adil, and thank you for mentioning that again. And yes, I'm going to push it a little bit in the parents here. Let your children be who they want to be, not who you want them to be. Teach them, yes, manners, teach them knowledge, teach them whatever you want to teach them, but let them make the choice if they want to use it or not later on in life. Don't push things on them if they don't want it.
Absolutely, I like that as well. And a word came to my mind where, from the topic removing self-limiting beliefs, it would turn out to become self-expressing beliefs, like express yourself and express your abilities. And like you said at the beginning, whatever you believe in, this would be the overcome or the outcome to the belief itself and the thought. And yes, Adil, like you said, it is feels like a vicious cycle, and we're just breaking that cycle to make it a long, successful path for everybody on side by side. Thank you so much, Gamal. Thank you, everybody watching. Thank you,
Thank you.
Adil.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, all our participants from all over the world on Facebook, Zoom, and on YouTube. Thank you guys for watching, and really looking forward for next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.